since 5 o'clock, the Adams County Sheriff's Office is now investigating a string of car burglaries and thefts.
Over the past 2 weeks, investigators have been identifying and arresting suspects. WGEM's Joseph Lawler joins us now live from Liberty, Illinois, where he spoke with the owners of one stolen car. So, Joseph, tell us what's been happening across the county.
Well, Daniel and Raja, cars have been the target in a string of thefts and burglaries throughout the county. I spoke with one Liberty resident who was woken up in the middle of the night after her car was taken right from her driveway.
We had no idea it happened. We had gone to bed earlier in the night.
Emmy Winklejohn and her husband have lived in Liberty for 6 years. In the early morning hours of April 22nd, the Winklejohns were woken up by a knock at their door.
And it was a cop, and we were like, what's going on? And he's like, we found your car down the road.
Their car had been taken, driven 4 blocks down the road, and left with the windshield wipers and lights on. Over the past 2 weeks, about 15 reports of car burglaries or thefts have been reported throughout the county. After the Illinois State Police knocked on Winklejohn's door, another stolen car was found right near their house.
We found another vehicle parked along our yard that had been also stolen, that had been hot-wired.
According to the Adams County Sheriff's Office, the first report came in last Friday. Chief Deputy Patrick Frazier says since then, a few juveniles have been arrested. However, they are still investigating.
We have 3 different agencies actually working this case. Looking into the leads that we have some video surveillance that we're studying.
Frazier says the Sheriff's Office, Illinois State Police, and Quincy Police Department have been patrolling the county. He encourages every resident to keep their cars locked and valuables concealed.
The best thing they can do is lock the doors and remove the keys. If the keys are left in the vehicle, they're seeing that as an opportunity to take that car for a ride.
Frazier says most of the incidents have been car burglaries. He says in the cases where cars were stolen, most of the time it was because keys were left inside. Live in Liberty, Illinois, Joseph Lawler, WGEM News.
Thank you, Joseph. And Frazier urges everyone who sees a suspicious vehicle or people where they shouldn't be to contact the Sheriff's Department immediately.